This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
You have my sword.
And you have my bow.
And my trowel.
Hi, you're listening to episode 48 of And My Trowel, where we look at the fantastic side of archaeology and the archaeological side of fantasy. I'm Tilly.
And I'm Ash.
And this is the second part of our discussion with Dr. Wouter Verschoof-Van the Vaart, chatting all about aerial scanning. So let's just very quickly remind ourselves of where we were before we stopped last time. So this time we received a quest from the Malgaroth Historical Society of Mirkwood Forest, who would like to conduct an archaeological survey of Mirkwood Forest. But as you can probably imagine, nobody particularly wants to conduct this survey on foot, so they have requested that we conduct an aerial survey of the forest to let them know whether there is anything that might require further investigation. And extra exciting, we're going to be working together with the great eagles to conduct this aerial survey. In order to make sure that we know what we're talking about, we are having a preliminary chat with Wouter, who is an expert in aerial scanning. Listen into last week's episode if you want to learn more about that. So we've already completed our literature review, but now we need to find out exactly what to expect, like methodologically. Oh my God. How do you say that word? Methodologically.
I think you've added a D.
Methodologically. I'm using the Middle Earth pronunciation.
Of course. Yeah, the Elfish.
Anyway, so because we don't want to look like idiots in front of the eagles now, do
Which we unfortunately are. But unfortunately, no, we will not. No. Man forbid, we will not look like idiots in front of the eagles. Okay, so first of all, though, what exactly can the eagles do?
So I was asking my contacts about this.
Your eagle contacts.
Yes, yeah. my moth eagle contacts, eagle moth contacts. And so they can see through all physical matter. The only thing that they can't see through is the blackness of Morgoth's evil pits. I don't know if there are any of them in Mirkwood Forest, but this is just something we have to keep in mind in case there's some negative space that we can't see through. Then we know we found.
Well, if we find negative space, that's a good thing archaeologically.
Is it? Then true. Yes, yeah. You know what I mean. If we find something they can't see, then it's.
But if basically something goes wrong with the eagles, we know.
It's Morgoth.
It's Morgoth. Bloody Morgoth. Always get in the way of our archaeological investigations.
But apart from that, they can see through all physical matter, which sounds like, considering what we were talking about last episode, Wouter, that seems quite similar to LiDAR, or did I completely misunderstand?
No, I think you are mostly correct. The idea with LiDAR is that if you just send out enough of these laser points, what we talked about last time, that some of them, indeed, thanks for the sound effects, that some of them will even get through, for instance, a thick forest, like, for instance, Mirkwood. But, of course, as you can imagine, how thicker the forest, how more difficult it is to get any measurements from the surface underneath the trees.
Oh, okay. So would there be another scanning method that would be better to use?
Not really.
Okay.
So, in archaeology, the three methods we use quite often are just aerial imagery, so taking photographs from above, multispectral scanning, where you look at the different parts of the light spectrum, so different color bands, as they are called. Mm-hmm. So you collect the green and the blue and the red and the yellow and the infrared separately, and then you can combine those in a sort of magical
in the color of the rainbow.
Yeah, indeed. It's very interesting if you're colorblind, but
gosh. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you don't know you're colorblind and then you start doing LiDAR and you're like, there's nothing there, guys. It's all just flat ground. And everyone's going, actually.
I need a book about that, a colorblind archaeologist.
Yeah. I mean,
That's what I need.
I don't think I actually know any colorblind archaeologists. I know a lot of people who are colorblind, but I don't know any.
I'm partially colorblind.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you work with scanning tech. So how does that, okay. How does that work then, though?
How do you navigate that?
a lot of this data you can also just look at in grayscale.
Okay,
And then
that's useful.
it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, well, that helps.
There
Yeah,
you go.
that's
Can
good,
you
that's
write
good.
a book about yourself so I could read it?
No pressure, but
No pressure, but I just want to know.
more information. But,
I'm now thinking of a title like The Colorless Excavation.
excavating through grey.
Shades
Munsell
of
grayscale. 50 shades
Fields of
colour-
Munsell.
colour-
50 Shades of LiDAR.
Yeah. Okay. But then, okay, and that was. But that, sorry, you were just talking about LiDAR? You were talking about a different one?
So
No, that
you were
was
talking about-
multispectral.
This is multispectral. Yeah,
Multispectral.
sorry.
Yeah,
yes,
and that
multispectral.
basically shows you how healthy the plants are.
Oh, okay.
And that again that is what they call a proxy for what is happening in the soil. So for instance, if there is a wall underneath the plants, then the plants probably will grow less well. Because they don't get enough water.
Yeah.
There's not enough moisture in the soil. If there is a ditch that has been filled up, there's more water in that particular bit of the soil, so the plants will grow better.
Okay.
And
Can you
so
see if
by-
something's organic rich as well? Does that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because probably there's more nutrition for the plant, so they will grow better.
That's so interesting.
And with then actual like structures, did they show up as well, or does it more show up as, oh, there's no plants growing here because there's a stone there? Like, how does that?
What you often see is that for instance, in a cornfield, you can see all these lines, which are then the walls that are underneath the plants in the ground. And there are still plants on it. There are still corn growing, but it's just growing a little bit less well than the rest of the field.
Oh, okay.
So again, by looking from above, you can see the whole picture.
Yeah.
And with that, you can...
But that's really interesting because you need to then not just be able to identify, oh, look, there's plants growing less well there, but you need to actually know what that means. Like, it's not just, I guess they're not growing as well. It's, they could not be growing as well because there's a massive castle buried beneath it or something. I don't know.
But we did talk about that in traditional surveying when we were excavating Weathertop.
We did.
Because even when you're doing a walkover survey, there's certain types of plants that will grow on stone. And different, so like often in Scotland, I can never remember it. There's a certain type of bracken that loves stone. So if you see it and it's growing in a kind of, I don't know, rectangular shape, what does that tell you? You know, that there's something under there.
Although,
Yeah, and that will be exactly what you could measure with this multispectral scanner. But so there the problem is, again, if you would scan Mirkwood, you would see which trees are growing well and which ones are growing less. But you can't see underneath the trees.
Okay.
And really, LiDAR is the only technique that can really look underneath the trees.
Okay.
Or
Yeah, because we
underneath
can't touch the trees
vegetation.
in Mirkwood. No.
No, I'm not. I ain't touching none of those trees. But so if we look at LiDAR then, I mean, it sounds like it's something that's quite used now. How did that develop? How did that first start? Was it something that is a typical, I feel like so many methods and technologies used in archaeology were stolen from elsewhere. Is that the case with LiDAR? Or?
Yes, it's certainly a borrow and steal technology.
It is.
Originally, it was developed to detect submarines
Oh, okay.
during the Cold War. But then, of course, we didn't have GPS and the computers were still so limited in their processing power that it didn't really was used. And then in the 80s, they started using it to map the land surface underneath the Arctic and the Antarctic.
You know that, Tilly?
Yeah. Yes, I'm aware. I also feel like last episode we were basically just acting like teachers who have no clue what they're saying and like, anyone else in the class can give an answer to this, and Wouter is just filling in all the... Okay.
But so really only from around 2000, 2005, they really started using LiDAR in archaeology.
Oh, wow, that recently?
Yeah. One of the first examples was in Germany. They looked at an area in Salisbury Plains in the UK. There, I think the area was mapped by the military for military reasons, and then they used the data to look at archaeology.
Okay. Huh.
And so also here in the Netherlands, from around that time, we have the first LiDAR data set of the whole Netherlands, which was gathered for water management and to look at the dikes. So it was done.
I'm just amazed that it's such a young, relatively speaking, young. Has it changed a lot since it was first used within archaeology? Have there been a lot of tweaks made, or is it then pretty much the same thing now that it was when it started?
The way we measure hasn't really changed. The methodology hasn't really changed. But of course, now we can measure larger areas. We can take more measurements. We can use drones, so we can do it ourselves. Before we were relying on other people to do it because it's really expensive to use a plane.
Yeah.
And it's mostly in the way the data is processed that has changed, also because computers have gotten better. And yeah, the last bit of the processing, it's called visualizing the data. That is actually when you add the colors, or in my case, do not add colors. And before we used different methods. For instance, one is called hillsade, where you basically look at if I would shine with the sun on this elevation model, where would the shadows be?
Cool.
And where would be lots of light? And the last couple of years, there's been some of these visualization techniques that are specifically for archaeology.
Okay, looking for things. It honestly just sounds, I see all these videos of people drawing fantasy maps where when you were talking about shading, like you shade on the dark side of the mountains and everything. It's map creating, I guess, then? Or
it is. It's very much that. And of course, by adding colors, you can enrich the map even further.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no doubt in my mind, Wouter, that you love fantasy because you love maps and you're literally LiDAR archaeologist. It seems to work really well.
It's the ultimate overlap, the ultimate Venn diagram.
Yeah. And Wouter's in the middle.
Wouter's in the middle, yeah.
I have to admit that I made a couple of fancy maps.
Excellent.
Do my time, yeah.
I used to make maps. I just remembered this. I used to make maps of people's islands. And so I would, like, for example, my full name is Matilda, and I drew an island called Adelatam, which is Matilda backwards. And
you're such a geek.
This was when I was like 12 or something. And I remember, and I drew all of the things, and it had all of these different stuff. And I did it for everyone. I did it for all of the family. I drew them their own maps of their own islands. I just remembered that.
Cute. That's very cute. Maybe you can use LiDAR now.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Up my game.
I'm curious as well, because you said that it was very expensive, or it was expensive. So is it a commonly used technique now in archaeology?
It has become very common to use, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's mostly due to the fact that now you have drones, which makes it much cheaper to do a LiDAR survey. The LiDAR measuring sensors, those are still rather expensive, a bit depending on how well it works and how much detail you want. But it has become much more common to do a LiDAR survey of areas you are then going to survey, or to look indeed at areas that are under the trees to see if there's any archaeology there.
Yeah. And how accurate is LiDAR?
It depends a bit on how many points you collect and the processing, but most of the LiDAR data that is available on the internet is about 50 centimeter resolution. So
okay.
So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Hang on. I feel like I should be taking notes on this stuff, because we're just talking about how we don't want to look like idiots in front of the eagles. And I thought I could remember everything, but I definitely need to take some notes. So give me 1 second while I find a quill. We'll be right back. Okay, I found my quill. Let's continue.
Good, because I really think we need to write this stuff down.
Yes, I agree.
So maybe we can chat a little bit about the practicalities of aerial scanning. Wouter, what do you actually see when you do an aerial scan?
Yeah, so that again depends on which technique you want to use, or which combination of techniques you want to use. As you can imagine, if you take an aerial picture, you see a picture of the ground from above. But we have been talking about LiDAR mostly. And so with LiDAR, what are differences in the elevation of the Earth's surface? So if there is a pit, you will see that's lower there than the rest. And if there is a mound, you will see it's higher than the rest.
But how deep does it go? I'm just thinking of if is it just surface area? And then the other thing you were talking about, I've forgotten, spectroscopy.
Multispectral.
That's multispectral, thank you. Yes,
Like,
that
are
one.
we
It
getting
sounded
down
more
to-
magical.
I was testing you. That one's more, it goes into the earth, but even that one as well. So you're only seeing, at what point does it stop? Because if there's a pit dug in, but then there would be a wall just below that or something, you would only see to the bottom of the pit. Like, how far down would you go?
Yeah, we don't want to encounter a Balrog or anything
That
like
as
that.
that as well, yes.
So you would only see really the top of the Earth's surface.
Okay.
It wouldn't penetrate anywhere deeper into it. There's one technique that does that a little bit, but that's quite advanced. With LiDAR and also with multispectral and with aerial imaging, it's only like the top of the Earth's surface.
Okay.
So would you suggest that you have to combine that with actual excavation? So this sort of points out where stuff is, and then you go in and excavate to get as much information as possible.
Yeah, I would say you have to combine it with some other survey technique. Of course, you don't have to immediately start excavating. You can just go to it and look. You can do
Travel
borings.
down, Ash.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Oh man, just want to dig, man.
But for instance, as an example, with LiDAR data, I've worked a lot on LiDAR data from the Netherlands, and we were looking for burial mounds, so these small earthen mounds in the landscape. And at a certain point, I was looking at an area and I saw one and I thought, this one is perfect. It's on no map. It's in no record. This is a new one. Yes. And then we actually went out into the field and expectations were high. And then it was like, there's a farmstead here. Okay, maybe it's on the edge of this farmstead. It can still be a barrow. And then actually it turned out it was just a pile of dung.
I was about to say, was it a compost pile?
Yeah, I was like, oh no, it's going to be some sort of spoil heap or something.
Yeah, and that sort of shows, like, with all these remote sensing techniques, all this aerial scanning, you only get one piece of information from this. Like with LiDAR, you get height differences.
Yeah.
With multispectral, you get plant stress.
Yeah.
And so you always have to combine it with something else to actually find out what it really is.
I feel like I've seen somewhere, who was it? There was someone who gave a YouTube lecture or something, and she was an underwater archaeologist, and she mentioned LiDAR briefly, and talking about how they'd done it on a boat. So they were going on a boat, they had LiDAR, and they were scanning it below the surface of the water, and they saw this like thing, and they were like, oh wow, that's amazing. And so they went round and they did another sweep, and it was still there, and they were like, oh, this is so cool. But they didn't have the chance to do stuff at the time, so they were like, okay, note the spot and then we'll come back tomorrow. And they went back the next day and it was gone, it wasn't there, and they were like, oh, what is it? And then they looked at it, I don't know, in higher detail or something, and they basically worked out it was a shoal of fish that was just like chilling above the sand, but like it was just chilling there. So then they'd seen it a couple of times. But yeah, so I guess indeed, fish or dung heaps.
Yeah.
Those kind of things could be in the way. Which are there? So these are some of the issues indeed that I guess we have to consider, like when we're working with the eagles. So what are other kind of common issues crop up when you're using these sorts of techniques or these methods?
So for some of these methods, of course, you need light. So you can do it in the dark.
Okay.
That is some limitation.
LiDAR can't happen in Scotland then.
LiDAR is the one exception.
Yeah.
But so, for instance, with LiDAR, you want to take measurements where you have the most chance of success, and especially when scanning forested areas. So you want to do it preferably in the winter. But then in this short period between the time there's no snow, which is not really a problem in the Netherlands, because we haven't had snow for years, and also before there are new leaves on the trees.
Okay.
So, and of course, with the other techniques, the limitation is, if there is something blocking your view to the Earth's surface, you can't see there.
Okay. So I don't know, actually. Do you know if Mirkwood loses its leaves?
No.
I don't think it does it?
I've just said no, I just totally guessed. But
It's
just confidence.
I don't think it does indeed.
No,
Although
I don't think so.
Yeah. Which I guess the nice thing with the eagles is that these issues won't necessarily be a problem because they can see through all physical matter. So we would probably just have to ask them to adjust the settings to see below the tree, below the level of the trees. I don't know if that would work. Is that something you could do with, for example, the spectroscopy? It's not spectroscopy. What's it called?
Multispectral.
Multispectral. Why am I calling it spectroscopy all the time? I think I'm just thinking of microscopes. But can you try to see, because of course, like you say, what you're seeing basically with the scanning is you're seeing then a surface. But if you see depth, can you adjust the settings of how deep it goes with certain scanning methods?
Not really.
Yeah.
With LiDAR, you can, because you're sorting out these measurements, like which ones are off the ground and which ones are not.
Yeah.
You can, of course, see, I can also take all the measurements from the top of the trees. And for instance, they use that in forestry to see how well the trees are growing.
Yeah.
And also to even look what type of tree it is. With LiDAR, you can do it a little bit, but that would be a lot of work.
Okay. I feel like I've just been reminded of this. I feel like I read a paper somewhere ages ago this is me going down a rabbit hole, buckle in, folks, reading a paper where they used some kind of scanning thing, but I can't remember. I thought it was LiDAR, but it can't have been because it was of the Amazon jungle, and they found evidence of water where it shouldn't have been, like a very square water thing, and it turned out to be like a forgotten temple that everyone had forgotten about. Like, it was a ruin, basically. It wasn't very built up, but it still had the water complex underneath, and that was what they could see on the scanning. But that wouldn't have been LiDAR. Is there a type of scanning method that can do that, or is this something I'm just also, maybe this is something I've dreamed?
I know they have used LiDAR to find these Aztec and Mayan cities.
Yeah.
And for instance, they did a lot of research using LiDAR in Cambodia to map Angkor Wat.
Ah, okay.
Like the big temple, but also the whole surrounding area.
Uh-huh.
So it is certainly used to find, let's say, lost ruins.
Yeah.
But I have never heard it being used to find things underneath other structures.
Yeah. This is going to annoy me now. I'm going to have to look this up.
Yeah, you're going to have to find it, and then you can have to put it in the show notes.
Yes. If I find it, I'll put it in the show notes, and I'll send it to Wouter, and we can record you making a comment on it.
The bonus episode.
Exactly, a bonus episode, 5 minutes long, Wouter commenting on this paper, being like, no, this is rubbish. This is pseudoscience. This is not a thing at all.
But that's got me thinking, like, with LiDAR, is there different types of LiDAR? Because you've talked about not aerial and airborne sort of stuff, but terrestrial stuff.
Yeah.
So is there different types that you can do, or is it just one technique and that is it?
So the idea and the technique is the same. You send out laser beams and you collect how long it takes for them to come back to you. That is all the same. But so you have it airborne, as we have been talking about, hang it underneath a drone or an airplane. You have terrestrial, where you, for instance, what we talked about in a car, you can also do that from the ground, for instance, to measure standing ruins. Because you can make a 3D map then as well. And you have one other technique that's called bathymetric LiDAR. Ooh. And that uses a different colored laser. Normally it's infrared, but in this case it's green. And then you can also measure a little bit below the water.
Okay.
So, again, from the air.
Oh, okay.
How far does it go into the water? If I'm assuming you're the expert.
Yeah, it really depends on how much waves there are and how murky the water is.
Yeah. Wow.
But I think it can be a couple meters.
Oh, that's not too bad.
In ideal circumstances.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
So In terms of the sort of actual use of it, you would say it's probably better. Could anyone use LiDAR, or does it require very sort of specialized knowledge in order to work with it?
It is in that sense specialized in that you really have to know what you're doing with the processing. Like the collection of the data, that is now mostly done automatically by these drones. But it is mostly, then you have these million or a couple million points of data, and then the whole processing, getting those into an image, that takes some specialized knowledge.
So what I'd suggest is that we gather the data, then we could send it to you.
Yes.
Because you like this stuff, right?
Yeah. We don't want to map Mirkwood first.
Yeah. I can put it in GIS.
Yes. My goodness.
A GIS of Mirkwood Forest. That would be...
I want that so badly. That would be so much fun.
Then, of course, we get to another point is, okay, we have done the whole of Mirkwood, but how are we going to analyze all this data? Because, of course, I can start at it, but it will take me a very long time.
Okay.
Good thing the eagles live very long.
Yes, the collecting of the data doesn't take that long, but then we have all this data, but finding the archaeology in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is actually something I worked on in my PhD.
Ah, okay.
Yes, geek out.
What would you suggest then? It would be
so,
the best approach.
Like the one way I looked at is using AI to find archaeology in LiDAR. So artificial intelligence. That would be one option. That we take one of these computer models and say, look for all the barrows in this LiDAR data. But of course, another option would be to use citizen science.
Oh, yes.
And that is basically where you ask a whole group of people that don't have to be archaeologists, that don't have to be remote sensing experts, to help you with analyzing the data.
Oh, so they have access to the data and they basically troll through it in their own time.
Yeah, most of the time that is one way, but most of the time you have to structure it in some way. And that is, for instance, something we did with a team from Leiden University. We had the Heritage Quest project, where we looked at LiDAR data from the Netherlands and tried to find these burial mounds and several other types of archaeology in LiDAR data.
And it worked well? Like people were able to identify?
Yes,
things?
It worked very well. And the idea is that if enough people look at the same picture, so you show them a very little bit of LiDAR data, and if you have enough people looking at the same picture, they will get a consensus. At a certain point, you can say, if I have 15 people looking at this and all 15 say it's a barrow, then probably it is a barrow. But if only one person says this is a barrow,
it's a
then
dung
of course
heap.
the chance is much lower. Or
that would show up as a barrow. So it's
but so by using that idea, you can basically give a chance to every point. Like, okay, the chance that this is a barrow is, I don't know, 80% or 50% or. And that has worked quite well. We have found about 1,000 new barrows in the Netherlands.
That's so fun. That's amazing.
I was about to say, I was expecting we found about 100, but no, about 1,000. Yeah, that's incredible. Okay. Oh, there you go. Then that was using a combination of LiDAR, which was conducted, and then a lot of data, but then using citizen science to look through that data and actually analyze it.
You can ask the elves.
Yeah, could ask the elves or the hobbits. They don't have much.
Hobbits won't want to do that. They're too, they'd like
too
to
much
lie
work.
around and.
But on the other hand, you can do it while eating or while just sitting.
That's how we have to market it.
You can make it as a little mini competition. Like whoever finds the most barrows gets a big pumpkin or something.
We get a cartoucherie board or whatever it's called.
Cartoucherie? I remember it. That's the ancient Egyptian version of the cartouches. Charcuterie. You nearly had it. Charcuterie.
I was so close. It's a shame
I
that
love
this
the
is being
idea
recorded.
of a cartoucherie board. Cartoucherie board.
I now see like obelisk shapes.
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
trees.
You have the Eye of Horus or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Camembert is just the Eye of Horus.
Yeah. Okay. But yes, okay. So cartoucherie board or a charcuterie board, as it's otherwise known. The hobbits. Or indeed, I think the elves would enjoy doing it. They could,
A lambless breadboard.
and hone their skills. Dwarves might even, their days off, they could have.
They helped out with the excavation, so maybe
They
this
did.
is just the next phase.
The next
of
phase, yeah.
many things. for them.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I really love that.
Then I think we have a plan, no? Do you feel more confident now, Ash?
I'm not over.
When you're not saying
I can't speak. I'm sorry. I'm not over it.
No, Rachel, we're keeping that in. Rachel, don't you dare cut that, our editor. That is staying in. Because it's so good. But it's so good. We have to keep that in. It's so good. No, you started a new trend, Ash. It's all good.
Crying. Stop.
Okay, I think I'm going to wrap this up then, because I think that's probably about it for this episode of My Travel. We hope that you enjoyed this quest. Thank you so much, Wouter, for helping us out with this particular problem. It was really great to have you join us, and I definitely learned a lot about aerial scanning. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invite, and I hope to be back.
Yes,
you will be.
In the meantime, if people want to keep up with your projects or follow you or contact you or anything, where's the best place to go?
Nowhere, really.
You have to show up at the barrow while he's
Yeah. Just if you see somebody walking out in a field, it's probably me.
Okay, there you go. Go field walking, everyone.
You just bump into.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on this quest. If you enjoy these episodes, please, as always, do subscribe, follow wherever you get your podcast. It really helps to support the show. If you're interested in hearing more archaeology content, make sure to check out the other shows on the Archaeology Podcast Network. And if you have any episode ideas or you just want to get in touch, maybe you have made a cartoucherie board, you can find all of our contact information as well as links and further information on what we discussed today in the show notes.
Oh no! Sorry, okay, I'm sorry. I know.
Ash, we're professionals.
Just need to say this one thing.
We've held it together.
Now just thinking how you can make pigs in a blanket be Egyptians. That's just...
Stop making it worse.
Oh my god, we have to. No, but Ash, this is great. We have to make a cartoucherie board. We will each make a cartoucherie board, and we can submit it to Steph, who's our resident APN Egyptologist, and she can.
Oh my god.
She can judge it.
I'm so sorry. Okay. Oh no, the cauldron's bubbling over.
Ah, no! Oh, wait. That reminds me of another quest that we've been given.
The Archaeology Podcast Network is 10 years old this year. Our executive producer is Ashley Airy, our social media coordinator is Matilda Siebrecht, and our chief editor is Rachel Roden. The Archaeology Podcast Network was co-founded by Chris Webster and Tristan Boyle in 2014 and is part of Cultura Media and DigTech LLC.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.